My phone buzzes on the nightstand, cutting through the darkness. I fumble for it, half asleep, until I see the caller ID. It's the hospital. A cold chill runs down my spine as I sit up, heart racing. The voice on the other end is calm, too calm as she tells me that my wife, Claire, and my daughter, Lily, have been in a car accident. They're both in the ICU. I'm out of bed before I even realize it, throwing on whatever clothes I can find, my mind blank except for one thought. I need to get to them. The drive to the hospital is a blur of red lights and screeching tires. I keep replaying the last conversation I had with Claire, the anger in my voice, the distance between us. I've been trying to keep our marriage together, but the strain of her affair, the betrayal, it's all been too much. And now this. My hands grip the steering wheel until my knuckles turn white. I can't lose them, not like this. When I burst through the hospital doors, the sterile smell hits me first, followed by the harsh, fluorescent lights. A nurse directs me to the ICU, where a doctor meets me. His face is serious, his eyes tired. He asks if I'm Lily's father, and I nod, barely able to get the word out. She's stable, but we're monitoring her closely, he says. Your wife is still unconscious. We're doing everything we can. I ask him if I need to donate blood, anything to help, but what he says next stops me cold. We have what we need for now, but if we need more, it would be better if it comes from her biological father. The words hang in the air, heavy and suffocating. I stare at him, not comprehending. I'm her father, I say, but there's a question in my voice, one I didn't mean to ask. The doctor gives me a sympathetic look, but it's like he's looking right through me. Of course, he says, but I'm already spiraling. The doubts, the fears, everything I've tried to push down bubbling up all at once. My mind races back to Claire's affair, the timing, the nagging doubt I've been trying to ignore. I feel sick, my stomach turning as I realize what he's implying. I barely remember the rest of the conversation, just that he leads me to a waiting room, tells me to sit tight. I'm numb, my thoughts a chaotic mess. I want to see Claire, to confront her, but she's lying there, broken, unconscious. I want to see Lily, but I'm terrified of what I'll feel when I do. The walls of the waiting room close in on me, the silence deafening. I sit there frozen as the world I thought I knew begins to crumble around me. The doctor's words keep echoing in my mind. Biological father. The phrase feels like a blade, slicing through the trust I've tried to rebuild. I sit there stunned, replaying every moment, every lie Claire might have told me. My thoughts are chaotic, a jumble of anger, fear, and something else. Betrayal so deep it takes my breath away. I try to push it aside, focus on what matters right now, Claire and Lily, but I can't. I keep thinking about the affair, about the nights Claire came home late, the way she'd brush off my questions with a tired smile. I'd convinced myself it was nothing, that we were just going through a rough patch. But now, sitting in this cold, sterile waiting room, I can't help but question everything. Lily's paternity. It was something I never wanted to doubt. She's my little girl. I remember the day she was born, the way I felt holding her for the first time. But now the memory feels tainted, like a painting smeared with mud. I don't want to believe it, but the doctor's words keep gnawing at me. If she's not mine, if Claire has been lying to me for years, I feel a rage building inside me, but there's nowhere for it to go. I stand up, pacing the room. My phone buzzes in my pocket, a reminder of the life outside this nightmare. Work, my case, a high-profile trial that's been dominating my life for the past few months. I'm supposed to be in court tomorrow, but how the hell am I supposed to focus on that when my life is falling apart? I pull out my phone, scrolling through emails, texts, anything to distract myself. But it's no use. My mind keeps drifting back to Claire, lying unconscious just a few rooms away. I need answers, but she's not awake to give them to me. And even if she were, would I believe her? I walk to the window, staring out at the dark parking lot below. I think about ordering a paternity test, but the thought makes my stomach churn. What if the results confirm my worst fears? Can I handle that? Can I handle knowing that Lily, the girl I've raised as my own, might not be mine? I feel the weight of the decision pressing down on me, suffocating. I take a deep breath, trying to clear my head. I need to be rational, but it's hard when every emotion I've ever felt is crashing over me like a tidal wave. I think about confronting Claire when she wakes up, demanding the truth. But what if she lies? What if she looks me in the eye and tells me what I want to hear, just like she has before? I'm so lost in my thoughts that I barely notice the nurse approaching. She tells me I can see Lily now. My heart lurches as I follow her down the sterile white hallway. The smell of antiseptic is overwhelming, making my head spin. When we reach the room, I pause at the door, taking a moment to steady myself. Lily looks so small in the hospital bed, hooked up to machines that beep and hum, reminding me how fragile life is. Her face is bruised, her arm in a cast, but she's alive. That's what I need to focus on. I move to her side, taking her tiny hand in mine. It feels warm, real, and I cling to that feeling, trying to drown out the doubts swirling in my head. I sit with her for what feels like hours, my mind racing the entire time. I can't help but think about the possibility that she's not mine. But looking at her now, I can't imagine walking away from her. She's my daughter, no matter what. But the fear, the uncertainty, it's like a poison, seeping into every thought. I need answers, and I know I won't find them here. Not while Claire is still unconscious. I kiss Lily's forehead gently and force myself to leave the room. I need to think, to figure out what the hell I'm going to do. Back in the waiting room, I pull out my phone again, but this time, I'm not checking emails. I start searching for paternity tests, how they work, how long they take. I need to know the truth, even if it tears me apart. But as I scroll through the options, I feel a new kind of fear. What if the test confirms what I'm dreading? What if Lily isn't mine? I close my eyes, trying to imagine a life without her. It's impossible. She's my world, the one thing that's kept me grounded even when everything else was falling apart. But if she's not mine, I don't know how I'll handle it. I make the decision quick and cold, like ripping off a bandage. I'll order the test, but I won't tell Claire. Not yet. Not until I know for sure. I can't afford to confront her until I have the facts. My phone rings, cutting through my thoughts. It's my colleague, Ben, calling about the trial. I answer, my voice tense. He asks if I'm ready for tomorrow, but I can barely focus on what he's saying. I give him a few curt responses, trying to sound like I have it all together, but inside I'm a mess. I tell him I'll be there, even though I have no idea how I'm going to make it through the day. After I hang up, I sit there, staring at my phone. The trial is a big one, a case that could make or break my career. But right now, it feels like the least important thing in the world. I think about calling it off, but I know I can't. This case is my life's work, and if I back out now, I'll regret it forever. I stand up, pacing again. My mind is a battlefield, torn between my duty as a father and my responsibility as a lawyer. But no matter how much I try to focus on the trial, my thoughts keep drifting back to Claire and Lily, to the secrets and lies that have brought me to this moment. I pull out my phone one last time, this time to make a call I never thought I'd have to make. I dial the number for a private investigator, someone I've used before on cases, someone I trust. When he answers, I don't waste time with pleasantries. I tell him I need information on Claire, on her affair, on the man she was seeing. The investigator takes the details without question, promising to get back to me as soon as possible. As I hang up, I feel a cold, sinking feeling in my gut. I'm crossing a line, one I can't come back from, but I need to know the truth, no matter how ugly it might be. I sit back down, my head in my hands. The waiting room feels like it's closing in on me. The walls too bright, the air too thick. I think about Claire, about the life we've built together, and I wonder if any of it was real. If she's been lying to me about something as fundamental as Lily's paternity, what else has she hidden from me? The thought is too much to bear, but I force myself to stay calm, to focus. I have to be strong. for Lily, for myself. But as I sit there, waiting for answers that might destroy everything I've ever known, I can't shake the feeling that my life is about to unravel in ways I can't even imagine. I look at the time. It's late, and I haven't slept in hours, but I know I won't be getting any rest tonight. There's too much at stake, too much I don't know. And until I get those answers, I'm stuck here, in this purgatory of doubt and fear. The nurse comes back, telling me that Claire is still unconscious, that it might be a while before she wakes up. I nod, thanking her, but my mind is already elsewhere, spinning with the possibilities, the what-ifs. I stare at my phone, willing it to ring, willing the investigator to call me back with something, anything that might make sense of this mess. But all I hear is silence, the kind that eats away at you, that makes you question everything you thought you knew. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, my phone buzzes. I grab it, my heart pounding. It's the investigator. I take a deep breath and answer, bracing myself for whatever comes next. The voice on the other end is calm, professional, but the words he says are anything but. He tells me that Claire's lover is someone I know, someone connected to the trial. My world tilts on its axis as the pieces start to come together, forming a picture I'm not ready to see. This isn't just about an affair. It's something bigger, something that could destroy everything I've worked for. As the call ends, I sit there, stunned. My life is a tangled web of secrets, lies, and betrayal, and I'm caught right in the middle of it. The trial, Claire, Lily, it's all connected, and I'm starting to realize that this is just the beginning. I start digging into Claire's affair the very next morning. Sleep doesn't come easily after the bombshell from the investigator. Every time I close my eyes, I see Claire's face, hear her lies, and imagine the worst. I need answers, but I'm treading on dangerous ground. I arrive at the hospital early, before the morning rush. The waiting room is eerily quiet, just the hum of machines and the distant murmur of nurses. I check on Lily first. She's still asleep, her small body looking even smaller in the large hospital bed. My heart aches as I watch her. This isn't her fault. She's just a kid, caught in the middle of a mess she didn't create. I brush a stray hair from her face, my hand trembling slightly. I love her no matter what the test says, but I need to know the truth. Claire is still unconscious and the doctors say there's no telling when she'll wake up. It's frustrating, like waiting for a verdict that could swing either way. I spend most of the day at the hospital, my mind racing. I check my phone obsessively, waiting for updates from the investigator, but it's radio silence. Every hour that passes feels like a ticking time bomb. By midday, I can't sit still any longer. I decide to head to my office, hoping that immersing myself in work will give me some clarity. The trial is looming, and I can't afford to lose focus, even though my personal life is in shambles. The drive to the office is tense, my thoughts a chaotic jumble. I keep replaying the investigator's words in my head. Claire's lover is involved in my case. How deep does this connection go? Is this just a coincidence, or is there something more sinister at play? When I reach my office, I'm greeted by Ben, my colleague, who's been holding down the fort in my absence. He's concerned, asking about Claire and Lily, but I brush off his questions with vague answers. I can't let anyone know what's really going on, not until I have more information. We dive into the details of the case. It's a high-profile defense for a corporate executive accused of embezzling millions. The case has been all over the news and the stakes are sky high. But as Ben talks, I can't shake the feeling that there's more to this than meets the eye. I ask him for a rundown of the key players, hoping to find a link to Claire's affair, but there's nothing concrete, just a gut feeling that I'm missing something. I spend hours poring over documents, trying to connect the dots. It's frustrating work, and my mind keeps drifting back to Claire, to the paternity test I ordered. The results won't be in for a few days, and the wait is killing me. Every minute feels like an eternity. As the day drags on, I get a call from the investigator. He's found out more about Claire's lover. The man's name is David Chambers, a mid-level executive at the company I'm defending. The same company at the center of this massive embezzlement scandal. My heart sinks as the pieces start to come together. This isn't just an affair. It's a tangled web of deceit that's about to explode in my face. I thank the investigator, telling him to keep digging, and hang up the phone. My hands are shaking, and I feel a cold sweat on the back of my neck. Chambers is connected to my case. That means Claire is too, in some way. I feel like I'm walking into a trap, but I can't turn back now. I have to see this through, no matter where it leads. I leave the office late, feeling more exhausted than ever. The city is quiet as I drive back to the hospital. The streets empty except for the occasional car passing by. My mind is spinning, trying to process everything. I don't know what to believe anymore. All I know is that I need answers, and I need them fast. Back at the hospital, I check on Lily again. She's still asleep, her breathing steady. I sit by her bed watching her chest rise and fall and try to push all the dark thoughts away. I can't let this destroy me. I have to be strong for her, even if everything else is falling apart. I spend the night at the hospital, sleeping fitfully in the uncomfortable chair by Lily's bed. I wake up several times, my heart pounding, my mind racing with thoughts of Claire, of the case, of what I'm going to do if the paternity test confirms my worst fears. By the time morning comes, I'm a wreck, but I force myself to keep going. The next few days blur together. I split my time between the hospital and the office, trying to juggle my crumbling personal life with the demands of the trial. It's exhausting, and I'm running on fumes, but I can't afford to stop. I push through the fatigue, the fear, the anger, because I don't have a choice. The tension is palpable every time I walk into the courtroom. The media is all over the trial, cameras flashing as I make my way inside. I put on my game face, but inside I'm a mess. Every word, every piece of evidence feels like it's leading me closer to the truth about Claire, about Lily, about the life I thought I knew. I keep digging into Chambers, trying to find a connection that will give me the upper hand. But he's slippery, covering his tracks well. I can't find any direct link between him and the embezzlement, but my gut tells me he's involved. And if he's involved, then so is Claire. The thought makes my stomach turn. One night, after a long day in court, I get a call from the investigator. He sounds tense, on edge. He's found something big. He wants to meet in person, away from the prying eyes of the media and my colleagues. We agree on a discreet location, a small, out-of-the-way bar on the edge of town. I arrive at the bar late, the place almost empty. The investigator is already there, nursing a drink at the far end of the bar. I sit down next to him, my nerves on edge. He doesn't waste any time, diving straight into what he's found. Chambers has been funneling money through a series of shell companies, hiding the embezzled funds in offshore accounts. It's a classic money laundering scheme, and it's tied directly to the company I'm defending. But that's not the worst part. The investigator pulls out a folder, handing it to me with a grim expression. Inside are documents, emails, and bank statements, all linking Chambers to Claire. She's been helping him, using her position to move the money around, covering his tracks. My hands shake as I flip through the papers, my mind reeling. This isn't just an affair. Claire is complicit in a crime that could land her in prison for years, and I'm caught right in the middle of it. I sit there staring at the documents, feeling like the ground has just been ripped out from under me. Everything I thought I knew about my wife, about my life, has been a lie. I feel a white-hot anger boiling up inside me, but there's nowhere for it to go. I can't confront Claire. Not yet. Not until I figure out how to handle this without destroying everything. The investigator watches me carefully, waiting for my reaction. I take a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I ask him if there's any way to use this information in my defense, to turn the tables on Chambers. He nods, but it's clear that this is a double-edged sword. If I expose Chambers, I expose Claire too. And if I don't, I'm complicit in their crimes. I leave the bar feeling more trapped than ever. The truth is out there, staring me in the face, but I don't know what to do with it. My life is unraveling faster than I can keep up with, and I'm running out of options. I know I need to confront Claire, to demand the truth, but I'm not ready. Not yet. Not until I have a plan. Back at the hospital, I sit by Lily's bed, watching her sleep. The paternity test results will be in soon, and the thought fills me with dread. I'm afraid of what I'll find, of the final nail in the coffin of my marriage, of the life I thought I had. I kiss Lily's forehead, whispering a promise that I'm not sure I can keep. I tell her I'll always be there for her, no matter what. But deep down, I know that everything is about to change. The truth is out there, waiting to be uncovered, and when it is, nothing will ever be the same again. As the trial reaches its peak, the tension in the courtroom is suffocating. The prosecution is relentless, and I'm constantly on edge, aware that any misstep could cost my client his freedom and me, my career. But even as I argue motions and cross-examine witnesses, my mind is somewhere else. The investigator's revelations about Claire and Chambers gnaw at me, a festering wound I can't ignore. I've spent nights piecing it all together, poring over every detail, every interaction. Claire's involvement in Chambers' schemes, the affair, the possibility that Lily might not be mine, it's too much. My life is unraveling, and I'm barely holding it together. The only thing keeping me going is Lily. No matter what happens, I need to protect her. Then the day comes. The paternity test results arrive in a plain envelope, as if they don't contain the power to destroy me. I stare at it for what feels like an eternity, my hands trembling. Finally, I tear it open, my heart pounding in my chest. She's mine. Relief floods through me, but it's quickly tempered by anger. Claire lied about so much, but Lily is mine. That's the only thing that matters right now. I can't afford to let my emotions get the better of me. I tuck the results away, determined to confront Claire. But not here, not now. I need to stay focused on the trial, but the case is getting more dangerous. I've started receiving threats, anonymous calls, messages left on my car. Someone doesn't want me to win this trial. I know it's connected to Chambers, but proving it is another matter. The threats are escalating, and I'm constantly looking over my shoulder. I know I'm in deep, but I can't back down. It's a late evening in court when everything comes to a head. I'm cross-examining a key witness, trying to discredit his testimony, when I catch sight of someone in the gallery, a man, tall, with cold eyes that seem to pierce through me. Chambers. He's here watching, as if daring me to continue. My blood runs cold. I push through the rest of the questioning, but my mind is racing. This isn't just about winning anymore. It's about survival. After court adjourns, I hurry out of the building, my eyes darting around, searching for any sign of danger. Chambers is gone, but the sense of dread lingers. I can't shake the feeling that something terrible is about to happen. I rush to my car, but before I can get in, my phone buzzes. Another anonymous message. This time, it's a photo. Lily, asleep in her hospital bed. My heart stops. They're threatening her now. I don't think, I just act. I drive straight to the hospital, my mind a whirlwind of fear and anger. When I get there, I find a security guard posted outside Lily's room, just as I'd arranged, but it doesn't ease my mind. Someone got close enough to take that picture, and that means they can get to her again. I storm into Claire's room. She's finally awake, and when she sees me, her eyes widen with fear. She tries to speak, but I cut her off, my voice cold and hard. I know everything, Claire. About Chambers, about the money, and I know what you've done. She's silent, her eyes filling with tears. For a moment, I see the woman I fell in love with, the mother of my child, but that image is shattered, replaced by the reality of what she's done. Why? I demand, my voice shaking with anger. Why did you get involved with him? How could you put Lily at risk like this? Claire breaks down, sobbing. I didn't mean for it to happen, she chokes out. It started as just an affair, but then he pulled me into his schemes. I was scared, Mark. He threatened me, threatened us. I didn't know what to do. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. She's been living in fear, trapped in a web of lies and deceit. But that doesn't excuse what she's done. I can't let her off the hook, not after everything. You should have come to me, I say, my voice low and dangerous. You should have told me the truth. I wanted to, but I was afraid. I didn't want to lose you, to lose Lily. But now it's all falling apart. She looks up at me, her eyes pleading. Please, Mark, help me. Help us. For a moment I'm torn. I want to protect her, to save our family. But I also know that she's involved in something much bigger than an affair. Chambers is dangerous, and if we don't play this right, we could all end up dead. I take a deep breath, forcing myself to think clearly. We need to go to the police, I say. You need to tell them everything. It's the only way to keep Lily safe. Claire nods, tears streaming down her face. I'll do whatever it takes, just please don't let them hurt Lily. I stand there looking at the woman I once loved, and I realize that I'm not sure if I can ever forgive her. But I don't have time to dwell on that now. I need to focus on getting us out of this mess alive. We spend the next few hours going over every detail, every piece of evidence Claire has against Chambers. It's damning, but it's also dangerous. If Chambers finds out that we're planning to go to the authorities, he won't hesitate to silence us. As I leave the hospital that night, my mind is racing with plans. I need to protect Lily, to get her out of the city before Chambers can make another move. But I also need to finish the trial. It's the only leverage I have left. The next day in court is tense. Chambers is there again, watching me with those cold, calculating eyes. But I don't let it rattle me. I press forward, using the information Claire gave me to poke holes in the prosecution's case. I can see Chambers growing more agitated, and I know I'm getting close to something big. That night, I make the arrangements to get Lily out of the city. I send her to stay with my sister in a remote town, far away from the chaos here. It breaks my heart to send her away, but I know it's the only way to keep her safe. With Lily out of harm's way, I focus on the final stages of the trial. I'm walking a tightrope, balancing the need to win the case with the need to protect my family. Every move I make feels like a step closer to the edge. The day before the closing arguments, I get another message. This time it's a video. Claire tied to a chair, bruised and bloodied. Chambers' voice echoes in the background, cold and menacing. You're playing a dangerous game, Mark. Back off, or your wife won't make it through the night. I feel a cold, creeping terror settle over me. This is it, the final move in a deadly game of chess. I have to act fast or Claire will pay the price. But I can't just walk away from the trial, not when I'm so close to taking Chambers down. I contact the police, giving them everything I have on Chambers. They agree to set up a sting to catch him in the act of trying to harm Claire. It's a risky plan, but it's all I've got. The next day in court, I deliver my closing argument with a calm I don't feel. Chambers is there, his eyes locked on mine, but I don't let it shake me. I finish my argument, then leave the courtroom, my heart pounding in my chest. I rush to the location where the police have set up the sting. It's an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city, the kind of place where no one would hear you scream. I arrive just in time to see the police storm the building, guns drawn. Inside, they find Chambers, his hands on Claire's throat. They pull him off her, arresting him on the spot. Claire is shaken but alive, and I feel a wave of relief wash over me. But it's not over yet. As Chambers is led away in handcuffs, he turns to me, a sinister smile on his lips. This isn't the end, Mark. You can't escape what's coming. His words send a chill down my spine, but I don't have time to dwell on them. I rush to Claire's side, holding her as she sobs. We've survived this nightmare, but I know it's left scars that will never fully heal. As we sit in the back of the ambulance, I realize that our lives will never be the same. We faced down a monster and lived to tell the tale, but the cost has been high. Claire looks at me, her eyes filled with regret and sorrow, and I know that our marriage is over. There's too much hurt, too many lies to ever go back to the way things were. But as I hold her hand, I make a silent promise to myself. I'll protect Lily, no matter what. I'll rebuild my life, piece by piece. and I'll make sure that Chambers pays for what he's done. For now, though, all I can do is take it one step at a time. We've made it through the worst of it, but the road ahead is long and uncertain, and as we drive away from Chambers is in custody, but the danger isn't over. I know the network he's part of is vast, and taking him down is only the first step. My phone buzzes constantly with updates from law enforcement, and I'm in constant meetings with my legal team. I need to focus on the trial, but my mind keeps drifting back to Claire, to the mess she's dragged us into. I'm torn between my duty as a lawyer and my need to protect my family. The lines have blurred beyond recognition. At the office, I'm back in my element, reviewing evidence and preparing for the final days of the trial. But there's a tension in the air, a sense that something is about to break. My colleagues are on edge too, sensing the gravity of what we're up against. This isn't just a case anymore. It's a battle for survival, and the stakes couldn't be higher. As I dive into the paperwork, I catch myself thinking about Claire. She's been cooperative since the confrontation, giving me everything I need to bring Chambers down. But I can't forget the betrayal, the lies she told, the danger she put Lily in. It's hard to look at her without feeling the anger bubbling up. I know I need to make a decision about our future, but I can't do that until this is over. Right now, all I can do is keep moving forward. The trial is intense. Every day I'm in court, pushing back against the prosecution's case, using the information Claire gave me to undermine their key witnesses. It's working, but I can see the toll it's taking on me. I'm exhausted, running on adrenaline and sheer willpower. I can't afford to slip up, not when so much is riding on this. In the evenings, I visit Lily. She's still with my sister, safe and far away from the chaos here. I sit with her, reading stories, watching her sleep. She's so innocent, so unaware of the storm that's raging around her. I feel a deep sense of guilt, knowing that I've been so consumed by this trial, by the mess with Claire, that I haven't been there for her like I should. But every time I look at her, I'm reminded of why I'm fighting so hard. Everything I do is for her. The days blur together, a relentless march toward the trial's end. The tension builds with each passing hour, the weight of the secrets and lies pressing down on me. But I can't stop. I'm in too deep, and the only way out is through. Finally, the day of closing arguments arrives. The courtroom is packed, the atmosphere electric. The media is out in full force, eager to see how this high-profile case will end. I stand before the jury, my heart pounding, and begin to speak. I lay out the facts, weaving the story of corruption, deceit, and betrayal. I show them how Chambers manipulated the system, how he used people like pawns in his twisted game. I'm careful not to implicate Claire directly, but the hints are there, the shadow of her involvement hanging over everything. I see the jury's faces, their eyes locked on me, and I know I've got them. When I finish, there's a moment of silence, the tension thick in the air. Then, the judge adjourns the court, and the waiting begins. It's out of my hands now, and all I can do is hope that I've done enough. I leave the courtroom, my mind still racing. There's a sense of relief, but it's tinged with anxiety. The trial may be over, but the real fight is just beginning. I know Chambers' associates are still out there, watching, waiting. I can't let my guard down, not for a second. That evening, I get a call from the police. They've traced some of the money Chambers laundered, and it leads back to people in high places, people with the power to make our lives hell. The detective on the other end of the line warns me to be careful, to keep a low profile until things settle down. But I know that's impossible. I'm too deep into this now, and there's no turning back. I hang up the phone and pour myself a drink, the weight of everything crashing down on me. The trial, Claire, the threats, it's all too much. I sit there in the dark, the glass heavy in my hand, and wonder how it all went so wrong. How did my life, once so controlled, spiral into this chaos? I think about Claire, about the decision I know I have to make. Our marriage is a shattered mirror, the pieces scattered and sharp. Trying to put it back together would only cut us both. But I can't bring myself to face her, Not yet. I need time, space to think, and I need to focus on what comes next. The next morning, I'm back in the office, but my mind is elsewhere. My team senses the shift in me, the distance, but they don't ask questions. They know better. I go through the motions, reviewing documents, taking calls, but it's all a blur. I'm on autopilot, just trying to get through the day. Then the verdict comes in. I'm back in the courtroom, the air thick with anticipation. The jury files in, their faces unreadable. The judge asks for the verdict, and the foreman stands, clearing his throat. My heart pounds in my chest as he speaks. Not guilty. There's a collective gasp, a murmur that ripples through the room. I feel a wave of relief, but it's hollow. I've won the trial, but it feels like a Pyrrhic victory. The cost has been too high, the damage too deep. I shake hands, accept congratulations, but my mind is elsewhere. I need to get out of here, to think, to figure out what the hell I'm going to do next. I leave the courthouse, the cool air hitting me like a slap. I walk through the city, my thoughts a chaotic swirl. The trial is over, but the battle is just beginning. I know Chambers' people won't let this go. They'll come after me, after Claire, after Lily. I need to be ready. I head to the hospital, my mind made up. I need to see Claire, to talk to her, to figure out where we go from here. When I arrive, she's sitting up in bed, looking better than she has in days. But there's a tension between us, a wall that I don't know how to break through. "Mark," she says, her voice soft, almost pleading. I sit down, the words heavy on my tongue. "We need to talk, Claire. About us, about Lily, about everything." She nods, her eyes glistening with tears. "I know. I'm so sorry for everything, Mark. I never meant for it to get this far. I was just so scared." I look at her, and for the first time in days, I see the woman I married, the woman I loved. But I also see the lies, the betrayal, the danger she put us in. I don't know if I can ever get past that. I'm trying to understand Claire, but I need to protect Lily. She's all that matters now. She nods again, wiping her eyes. "I understand. I don't want to lose you, Mark. I don't want to lose our family." The words hang in the air, and I feel the weight of them pressing down on me. I know I have a choice to make, but it's not an easy one. Do I try to rebuild what we had, knowing it will never be the same? Or do I walk away, start fresh, and protect Lily from the fallout? "I need time," I say finally, my voice heavy with exhaustion. "We both do. Let's focus on getting through this, on keeping Lily safe. Then we can figure out what comes next." She nods, and I see the relief in her eyes. But I also see the fear, the uncertainty. We're standing on the edge of a precipice, and I don't know which way we'll fall. That night, I drive out to see Lily. When I arrive at my sister's house, she runs to me, her arms wrapping around my neck. I hold her tight, feeling her small body against mine. And I know I'll do whatever it takes to keep her safe. She's my anchor, the one thing keeping me grounded in this storm. As I sit with her, reading her a bedtime story, I feel a sense of calm settle over me. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I'll face it head on. For her, for us. When I leave, I get back into my car, staring out at the dark road ahead. The case is over, but the fight isn't. I know there will be more battles, more challenges, but I'm ready. I've survived this far, and I'll keep fighting. For now, though, I need to focus on the next steps, protecting my family, securing our future, and figuring out what comes next. The road ahead is uncertain, but I'm ready to face it, one step at a time. I'm back at the office the next day, but my mind isn't on the stacks of files piling up on my desk. The trial is over, and the dust is starting to settle, but the chaos in my life is far from over. I've been trying to navigate through the mess Claire left behind, and I know that the worst is yet to come. Chambers' organization is still out there, and as long as they're a threat, my family isn't safe. I push the files aside, my thoughts drifting to Lily. She's safe with my sister, away from the turmoil, but I miss her, and the ache in my chest only grows stronger with each passing day. I promise to protect her, but I can't shake the feeling that I failed her in more ways than one. The revelations about Claire have shaken me to my core, and now every decision I make feels like walking through a minefield. My phone buzzes, pulling me out of my thoughts. It's the detective handling the Chambers case. They've arrested a few more key players, but the organization is vast, and they're still trying to piece together the full extent of its operations. The detective's tone is cautious, and I can tell there's more bad news coming. "We've intercepted some communications," he says. "Chambers associates are planning something big. We're not sure what, but it looks like they're targeting you, Mark." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I knew this wasn't over, but hearing it confirmed sends a chill down my spine. I try to focus, to think of a plan, but my mind is a blur. The detective advises me to keep a low profile, to avoid making any sudden moves. But I can't afford to hide. I need to end this, once and for all. I thank him and hang up, my hands trembling. The reality of the situation crashes down on me, and I realize that I can't do this alone. I need help, but I don't know who to trust. The lines between friend and enemy have blurred, and I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of uncertainty. I decide to confront Claire. It's time to put all the cards on the table and figure out what's next. She's still in the hospital recovering, and I know this conversation won't be easy, but it's necessary. I can't keep living in this limbo, and neither can she. When I arrive at the hospital, the tension between us is palpable. Claire looks fragile, her face pale and drawn, but there's a strength in her eyes that wasn't there before. She knows why I'm here, and she braces herself for the storm that's coming. "We need to talk," I say, my voice firm but gentle. "There's no more room for lies, Claire. I need the truth, all of it." She nods, her eyes meeting mine with a mix of fear and resignation. "I'll tell you everything, Mark, but you have to understand. I was scared. I didn't know how to get out." I sit down beside her, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. "Start from the beginning. I need to know how deep this goes." Claire takes a deep breath, her hands trembling as she begins to speak. She tells me about Chambers, how their affair started as a fling, but quickly spiraled into something much darker. He pulled her into his schemes, using her as a pawn to launder money through her accounts. She was in over her head, and by the time she realized the full extent of what was happening, it was too late. "He threatened Lily," she says, her voice breaking. "He said if I didn't cooperate, he'd hurt her." I couldn't risk it, Mark. I couldn't let him hurt our daughter. The anger inside me flares, but it's tempered by a deep sadness. I want to be furious with her, to blame her for putting us in this situation. But I also see the fear in her eyes, the desperation that drove her to make these terrible choices. It's hard to hate someone who was trying to protect the one thing that matters most to me. "Why didn't you come to me?" I ask, my voice tight with emotion. "We could have figured this out together." Claire looks down, her eyes filled with regret. "I was ashamed. I didn't want you to see how far I'd fallen. I thought I could fix it on my own, but I was wrong. I'm so sorry, Mark." I sit back, letting her words sink in. There's no easy answer here, no quick fix to the damage that's been done. But I know one thing for sure. I can't stay in this marriage. Too much has happened, and the trust between us is shattered beyond repair. "I'm going to keep Lily safe," I say finally, my voice steady. "But I can't stay with you, Claire. We need to separate for all our sakes." Her eyes fill with tears, but she nods, accepting my decision. "I understand. I don't deserve your forgiveness, Mark. But please, don't take Lily away from me. We'll figure out a way to co-parent, I promise. But right now, I need to focus on keeping her out of harm's way. That's all that matters." We sit in silence for a moment, the weight of our decisions hanging heavy in the air. There's a finality to it, a sense that we're both letting go of something that's been broken for a long time. It hurts, but it's also a relief. The lies are out in the open, and we can finally start to heal, even if it's apart. As I leave the hospital, I feel a strange mix of emotions, sadness, anger, but also a sense of clarity. The path ahead is still uncertain, but I know what I have to do. I need to protect Lily and that means taking down the last remnants of Chambers' organization. I spend the next few days working closely with law enforcement, sharing everything I know about Chambers and his associates. It's a dangerous game, but I'm all in now. There's no turning back. The police set up a sting operation using the information I've provided to lure out the remaining members of the network. The tension is unbearable as we wait for the plan to unfold. I'm constantly on edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop, but the operation goes off without a hitch. The police manage to round up the key players, dismantling the network piece by piece. It's a huge victory, but I know it's only the beginning. There will be trials, investigations, and more secrets to uncover. But for now, the immediate threat is neutralized. With the danger behind us, I turn my focus back to Lily. I visit her at my sister's house, spending as much time with her as I can. She's too young to understand the full extent of what's happened, but she knows that things are different. I can see it in her eyes, the way she looks at me with a mix of confusion and trust. We spend our days playing in the garden, reading books, and just being together. It's a stark contrast to the chaos of the past few weeks, and I'm grateful for the peace. But there's a lingering tension between us, a sense that things will never be the same. I'm determined to rebuild our bond, to be the father she needs, even as I navigate the wreckage of my marriage. Claire and I finalize our separation quietly. There's no animosity, just a mutual understanding that we've reached the end of the road. We agree on a custody arrangement that allows us both to spend time with Lily, but I know it will be hard. The wounds are still fresh, and it will take time for all of us to adjust to this new reality. As I pack up my things and move out of our home, I feel a strange sense of liberation. The house, once filled with memories, now feels like a museum of a life that no longer exists. I take one last look around, then close the door behind me, stepping into the unknown. The new chapter of my life begins in a small apartment across town. It's modest, a far cry from the house Claire and I shared. But it feels right, a fresh start. I spend my evenings settling in, trying to find my footing in this new reality. It's lonely, but it's also peaceful. I can finally breathe again. Claire and I remain civil, even as we drift further apart. Our conversations are brief, focused on Lily and the logistics of co-parenting. There's no anger, no blame, just a quiet acceptance of the path we've chosen. It's not the life I imagined, but it's the one we have now. As the weeks pass, I find myself reflecting on everything that's happened. The trial, the betrayal, the danger. It all feels like a lifetime ago. I'm scarred, but I'm also stronger. I've faced the worst, and I've come out the other side. And now I'm ready to rebuild, to focus on the future, and to be the father Lily deserves. But even as I move forward, there's a sense of unfinished business. The legal world is calling me back. The thrill of the courtroom, the challenge of a new case. I know I'm not done fighting yet. There's more to do, more battles to win, and this time I'll be fighting for something that truly matters. I sit alone in my new apartment, the boxes still half unpacked around me. It's late, and the city outside is quiet, but inside my thoughts are loud, clashing together like cars in a high-speed chase. Everything that's happened, the trial, Claire, the threats, feels like a storm that's finally passed, leaving wreckage in its wake. I'm left standing in the debris, trying to piece together what's left of my life. I think about Lily, the only constant in this chaos. She's been through so much, and I'm determined to give her the stability she deserves. I've started to rebuild my relationship with her, slowly, carefully. We're finding our way back to each other, step by step. There are still moments when I see the confusion in her eyes, the questions she's too young to ask. But I'm doing my best to be there for her, to let her know she's loved no matter what. The separation from Claire was inevitable, and I think we both knew it. There's a quiet understanding between us now, a recognition that what we had is gone, and there's no point in trying to salvage it. We've agreed to co-parent Lily, and so far it's working. There's no more anger, no more accusations, just a shared focus on what's best for our daughter. It's not perfect, but it's a start. But as much as I try to move on, The past still haunts me. The case brought me professional acclaim, but it also left me with scars I can't ignore. The world of law used to be my refuge, the place where I felt in control. Now it feels tainted, a reminder of everything I lost. I've taken a step back from the courtroom, focusing more on consulting and smaller cases, but I can feel the pull, the need to dive back into the fray. There's something about the fight, the rush of a high-stakes trial, that I can't quite let go of. Tonight, though, I'm not thinking about work. I'm thinking about the future, about what comes next. My phone buzzes on the table, and I glance at the screen. It's a message from my sister, a picture of Lily playing in the park, her face lit up with a smile that cuts through the darkness in my mind. I smile back, the weight on my chest lifting just a little. She's my anchor, the one thing keeping me from drifting too far out to sea. I close my eyes, letting the silence settle around me. The past few months have been a whirlwind, and I'm only just starting to catch my breath. But even as I try to find peace, I know there's more ahead. The world doesn't stop because I need a break. There will be new challenges, new battles to fight. I can feel it in my bones. A knock on the door pulls me out of my thoughts. I wasn't expecting anyone, and for a moment, my heart jumps, the old fear flaring up again. But when I open the door, it's just Ben, my colleague, standing there with a bottle of whiskey and a lopsided grin. "Thought you might need this," he says, holding up the bottle. I nod, stepping aside to let him in. "You know me too well." We sit on the couch pouring drinks and talking about everything and nothing. It feels good to have company, to let someone in, even if just for a little while. Ben's been a constant through all of this, the one person I can rely on when everything else is falling apart. We don't talk about the trial, or Claire, or any of the mess that's been my life lately. Instead, we talk about the future, about what's next. "You thinking about getting back in the game?" Ben asks, pouring another round. "You've still got a lot of fight left in you, Mark." I shrug, staring into my glass. "Maybe, but not right away. I need to focus on Lily. She's been through enough." Ben nods, understanding. "She's a good kid. Takes after her old man." I smile, but it's bittersweet. "I hope so. She's all I've got now." We sit in silence for a while, the weight of everything unspoken hanging between us. Ben finally breaks the silence, his tone more serious. "You know, there's talk about a new case coming down the line. Big one. Could be exactly what you need to get back on your feet." I look at him, raising an eyebrow. "What kind of case?" He leans in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "High profile, lots of media attention. But it's complicated, Mark, tied to some of the stuff you just got out of. Organized crime, dirty money, the works." I feel a flicker of something deep inside me, curiosity, maybe even excitement. But it's tempered by caution. "I don't know, Ben. I've had enough of that world for a while." He nods, but I can see the wheels turning in his head. "Just think about it. Could be a chance for redemption, to set things right." Redemption. The word hangs in the air, heavy with possibility. I don't respond, just take another sip of my drink, letting the warmth spread through me. It's tempting, but I know I need to be careful. I can't get sucked back into the darkness, not when I work so hard to claw my way out. Ben doesn't push. He knows me well enough to know that I need time. He finishes his drink and stands, clapping me on the shoulder. "You'll figure it out, Mark." "You always do." After he leaves, I sit there for a long time, the room quiet around me. I think about the future, about what kind of man I want to be for Lily. I know I can't stay in this limbo forever, that eventually I'll have to make a choice. Finally, I grab my phone and text my sister, telling her I'll be there in the morning to see Lily. I need to hold her, to remind myself what I'm fighting for. As I put the phone down, I catch a sight of the empty boxes, the remnants of a life I'm leaving behind. The future is uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, I feel a sense of hope. I've been through hell, but I'm still here. I'm still standing, and I know that whatever comes next, I'll face it head on, because that's who I am. That's who I've always been, and I'm not done fighting yet.